The New York Times went after Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, and the newspaper fell flat on its face. Ilhan Omar strangely deleted a tweet on Tuesday that brings up the whole brother issue, and the House Judiciary Committee moved forward with its first kind of impeachment hearing. All that and more. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, friends, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the show. And New York Times and Brett Kavanaugh, that's the big story. But before we get into that, I want to talk to you about another so-called news source, and that's Newsweek. So what do you guys think that Newsweek finds important? What kind of information do they think is crucial to pass along to you? What kind of tidbits of information do they think are worthy of their readers? Not much. All they want to do, like most of these sources these days, is find any little anti-Trump tidbit that they can go on and attack the president. That's all they do. And in this case, Newsweek actually put an article together where they dug up some allegedly distant relative of President Trump who's complaining that he once stole pancakes from her. Here's the report from the Washington Times. Newsweek covered a recent interview with 79-year-old Alice McKay, a distant Scottish cousin of President Trump, who described the president as an unpleasant and ungrateful compared to his lovely parents. I didn't like the man at all. He's so unlike his mother and father, Ms. McKay told Scottish newspaper The National. Ms. McKay, who is reportedly related to Mr. Trump through his mother's family, recalled one morning when the visiting future president took the pancakes she had made to go and dared to forget that her husband was dead. He put a few pancakes in his pocket and never said cheerio or anything, she alleged. So this is a story? This is what Newsweek found worthy to put on their website and I guess their magazine too. This is a story. And of course, the social media backlash was just terrific on this one. Here's a tweet from Ned Ryan, who said, I feel like people at Newsweek and the New York Times overdose on stupid pills this week. Seriously? Someone decided this was news. Stole pancakes? Are you kidding me? What's next? Trump steals pens. Trump steals printer paper. Y'all are beyond stupid. All right, and here's one from talk show host Dana Lash, and she wrote, no, not stolen pancakes. Gadfly tweeted this, he stole pancakes? Is this what you went to J school for? You're not even ashamed to write this. All right, and here's one. Here's my favorite. This is from a Twitter account called Intuitive Pig. And they write, this is the second dumbest article by Newsweek. The first is the Madam President edition. So that's just great. But I mean, what is going on with the journalism these days? Because that was Newsweek. That's just our lead into the big story, which obviously is the New York Times. We covered it on Monday, and I was just drawing the contrast between these tweets that they've been doing that are so, just off base and out of line. They did one last Wednesday about 9/11. They followed that up with a grotesque tweet about this article that they're running about Brett Kavanaugh. But we didn't even dive into the article. We just talked about their tweets and how they have to keep deleting them and putting retractions in and everything. Well, now let's talk about the article, because that has just blown up. And the New York Times has had to step back from that, issue corrections, editor's notes, things like that. And if you recall, we went through all of this last year with these hearings, and Blasey Ford and Deborah Ramirez, and everyone was discredited. There wasn't one corroborating witness out of all these allegations. It's just insane. So a year later, the New York Times brings up this story. And the story that ran this weekend is actually an excerpt from a book that these two New York Times reporters are writing. They pulled out this excerpt, they ran it, and immediately it got criticism. One, because they're attacking Brett Kavanaugh again. I mean, why? It doesn't make any sense. The whole idea of their article is to focus on Deborah Ramirez, who alleged last year that Brett Kavanaugh exposed himself to her at a party, okay? Well, in this book, Byron York at the Washington Examiner has a great analysis of these so-called 7 witnesses that say the evidence that back up Deborah Ramirez, except not one of the witnesses was an actual witness. I mean, one person heard it from a friend, another one heard it from a friend who heard it from a friend. So regarding Deborah Ramirez and those allegations, there was nothing new. But apparently they had a bombshell, new information, a new accusation, a new accuser of bad activity back at Yale. And here is the report from Fox News. The story, which ran in the paper's opinion section this past weekend, was authored by two Times reporters, Robin Pogrebin and Kate Kelly. It was adapted from their soon-to-be-released book and claimed that Kavanaugh classmate Max Stier saw Mr. Kavanaugh with his pants down at a different drunken dorm party where friends pushed his penis into the hand of a female student. The Times failed to mention that the partisan Stier had previously been Bill Clinton's defense attorney, or that Stier had engaged in legal battles with Kavanaugh in the course of the Whitewater investigation, but rather referred to him as a respected thought leader. More importantly, the Times neglected to include the damning information that the female student supposedly involved in this episode denied any memory of the event, and that efforts to find other corroborating witnesses flopped. All right, so did you catch that? In this book and in the story that ran this weekend, they mentioned someone else, okay? But the woman supposedly involved wasn't the one that they were talking to. They were talking to some guy, an anti-Kavanaugh guy, that said he saw this happen. All right, no one else to back it up. He said he saw it. So then when they talk to the woman, she decides that she doesn't even want to be interviewed for it. And her friends tell the reporters she has no memory of this event ever happening. And that's their big news. That's the news that happened. And so because of the blowback, because of the poor reporting, the editors actually had to put that piece of information back into the story. And here's their editor's note. It says, editor's note, September 15, 2019. An earlier version of this article, which was adapted from the forthcoming book, did not include one element of the book's account regarding an assertion by a Yale classmate that friends of Brett Kavanaugh pushed his penis into the hand of a female student at a drunken dorm party. The book reports that the female student declined to be interviewed, and friends say that she does not recall the incident. That information has been added to the article. So, of course, President Trump just, he's got a battle with all of these bogus media sources. So when this came up, he was on Twitter, and what he wrote. He said, "The New York Times is at its lowest point in its long and storied history. Not only is it losing a lot of money, but it's a journalistic disaster being laughed at even in the most liberal enclaves. It has become a very sad joke all over the world. Witch hunt hurt them. That story, Kavanaugh, is nowhere near the standard that should be met in publishing a story." All right, so these two reporters, they went on The View, and of course they were asked about this controversy. They were asked all about it, and here is part of the response.
How did this vital fact get left out?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. We're eager to clear the air on this. First of all, there was no desire to withhold important information from our readers. We have all of it in the book, and the essay is an adaptation of the book that, of course, we had to edit for length and clarity.
So it was edited for length and clarity, and that's where the errors came. All right, how about just being purposely misleading? This whole book is designed as a hit piece. The article is designed as a hit piece, but they were asked specifically about the whole Max Stier part of the story, and here was the response to that.
It was a similar type of situation to the Ramirez one. During the editing process, there was an oversight and this key detail about the fact that the woman herself has told friends she doesn't remember it and has not wanted to talk about it, got cut. And it was an oversight, and the Times adjusted it, and we're very sorry that it happened.
Wow, so this is journalism. This is the state of journalism today. So next I want to move on to Ilhan Omar, because she always is seeming to be in the news for all the wrong reasons, whether it's 9/11 tweets or anti-Semitic comments, saying some people did something, whether it's being investigated for campaign finance violations, or the other ongoing story is possible immigration violations and how she obtained her status, and this whole idea that, it sure does look like she married her brother. Well, something strange happened this week, and I want to take you back in time. I want to go back 6 years to this tweet that Ilhan Omar had on her account. This is wishing her father a happy Father's Day. It says, Happy Father's Day to my Abu Nur Syed. I am forever grateful to Allah for giving me the best father, And then there's an Instagram link. All right, and the Instagram link probably finishes out that sentence. Instagram link is gone. All right, that post is gone. And the other day, Mohammed Tohadi tweeted this out, which was very interesting. He says, he found that tweet of Ilhan Omar's from 6 years ago. And he says, this was Monday. And he said, your father is Nur Syed, not Nur Omar Mohammed? So you're like Ilhan Nur Syed. And you married Ahmed Nur Syed. You married your brother. And then in parentheses, most Americans don't know that in most Muslim countries, the surname is actually the father's name. Resign. Ilhan in 2013, busted. And then it has the link to that tweet. So then yesterday morning, the tweet from 6 years ago disappears. It just vanishes. And here is more from the Daily Caller, who worked on this story. It says, Omar spokesman Jeremy Slevin did not answer questions from the Daily Caller News Foundation about why a congresswoman would try to erase the identity of her father from the internet. But the name of the man who Omar married under unusual circumstances was Ahmed Nur Syed Elmi, adding to evidence that she married her brother. The Minnesota Star-Tribune reported in June that Elmi was possibly her own brother. Omar says she married a different man, Ahmed Hersey, under a religious but non-legal ceremony in 2002 and had 2 children, then separated from him and married Ahmed Nur Syed Elmi in 2009, the Tribune reported. But in 2012, she had another child that she says was Hersey's, and in 2014 and 15 filed her taxes jointly with him, all while legally married to Elmi. So that's just, I don't even know how to describe that, but that's the ongoing saga, and hopefully they'll investigate, and if she did violate immigration law, then deport her, because it's just ridiculous. The other thing that's ridiculous is the House Judiciary Committee holding hearings on this impeachment inquiry. It started yesterday. Jerry Nadler was a mess. They first brought in Corey Lewandowski, who was President Trump's campaign manager during 2016, and he had a field day. The Democrats did not know what to do. Here is just one little portion of it.
When the president asked you to deliver his message to Sessions, did the president tell you that Sessions had already said no? Volume 2, page 107?
Again, Congresswoman, I recognize that the privilege is not mine, but I've been asked by the White House to... Congresswoman, I'd be happy to answer your question, or you can just have a conversation by yourself. But if you'd like to ask me a question, I'll be happy to answer it.
I'm going to continue. The reason is
well, then don't ask me a question if you don't want to hear my answer.
I'm reclaiming my time. This is a House Judiciary, not a House party.
And it went on like that all day long. All day long, Corey Lewandowski just owned these guys, and it was great. But the Democrats, they can't get over impeachment. They just go on and on. On this side, it's President Trump. Now the presidential candidates, Beto and Kamala Harris and others, are talking about impeaching Brett Kavanaugh for this new non-evidence with no new witnesses. There's no witnesses, and yet they're pushing that as well. It's just absolutely outrageous, but this is the state of the Democrats right now. Folks, that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, and when you do, please hit that bell so you'll be notified, and we'll see you on Friday. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is the 13-Minute News Hour. Okay, friends, just a little reminder before you go, and no, this does not count against my 13 minutes. Please hit the subscribe button below and tell your friends. And if you happen to miss our last show, you can check it out right here. And also for great conservative news and commentary, please check out GOPUSA.com. All right, folks, we'll see you on the next show. Have a great day.